Hello, sir.
Okay, can you share me the like what do you say live link? Sure.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Adyasha Samal, Cabinet Member of GDSC-VSSUT, and I welcome everyone to this wonderful session. Today, we have a guest speaker with us, an exuberant personality, Mr. Aniket Pal, who is a developer at the world of open source, remote job opportunities, hackathons, and tips and insights on internships and how we can become an SDE and many more. It's a pleasure to have with us, sir. And now I'll request Aniket sir to speak a few words.
Firstly, thanks a lot, Adisha, for introducing me, and thanks a lot, Rajat, for inviting me. So I will try. We will be talking through some of the things, and before that, firstly, you should know like who I am and why you should listen to me. Right. The first thing we should have, like, why should I listen to this guy? He must be an expert. If you want something, a somewhat profile like which I have, or you feel those things you want to, maybe you can listen to me because that might be of help to you. So, firstly, I am a developer advocate at Mergify. So, Mergify is a France-based company. We are building GitOps solution for the future. Secondly, I am a Google Summer of Code mentee, and I worked with IHR. IHR is again a Japan-based organization, wherein I was the only Indian who was working. Talking forward, I was a summer intern at Barclays, and it was like UK. So that's what I worked as a SW intern, EV segments. And I'm also a GitHub campus expert at my campus, and I'm also the founder of Hackodisa, which was one of the largest hackathons of Eastern India. And yeah, that's about me. So let's talk about today's agenda. Okay, so firstly, we will be talking about open source, like how open source works, why you should contribute, and what open source exactly is. There are a lot of questions which any time can come to you, and you must be like, like, is really open source worth it, and why should we? Will be taking my stake and where you can find one, and how remote job opportunities can be something which someone like us who to work with one of the largest leading tech companies in the world. Secondly, I will talk around the lines of hackathons, so what are hackathons, why you should take part in, and how you can find hackathons, how you can build projects, what are the things you need to be good at hackathons or and related. And ultimately, I will try my best to share my tips and tricks maybe on how you can become a software developer. And lastly, you can ask me anything you want to. And also in the process, if you have any sort of questions which is arising in your mind, feel free to write. And I guess Adesha will help me out with the questions, and I will be answering them one by one. So taking forward, open source. So there are a lot of questions when we think for open source. Uh, okay, so there can be thought of majorly three things. So, what is open source? Why should we contribute to open source? And how exactly I should contribute and how it exactly works. So, what open source is? So, open source is something you can think of as something whose code is open. That is very clear and crisp thing, like everyone can understand. So, but why exactly open source software matters and why you should contribute. So see, like whenever you are building a software in the modern world, 80% of the code which is used is open source already. For example, if you are building a React application, so the a lot of modules which we are using are already open source modules, right? So whenever you are building or whenever your favorite app, maybe whatever you like, say Spotify or anything you want, so they are using or they are building the tool, they have been using a lot of open source libraries. So say when you are contributing in that, you have a chance of contributing to your favorite application. So now there are actually five things which you should remember before you think of why you should contribute to open source. So, firstly, suppose whenever we are working and you are in your first year or second year, like as Rajat told me, the most of the audience will be from first year and second year. So, the content will be towards you. So, whenever you are in first year and second year of a college and you don't have much idea on how exactly to work in MNC, or you are not getting opportunity because there are very few people who will help you. Ki, hey, you are just a beginner. I will help you out. I can give you a job, but most of the time they won't be giving you because they're like he or she does not have a good resume, they don't have a resume, and ultimately if taken they will break the production code. So there might be a chance that you are not getting the possibility of working in top companies or the companies you are desiring. So therein open source come into picture. Secondly, wherever you want to work, suppose wherever, even if you joined a company, so you will be assigned projects, you need to learn on things which they want you to learn and they want to you to work on. But whenever it is open source, you get the freedom to choose on what exact tech stacks or what exact projects you want to contribute. Thirdly, you get a good community. If you think the communities which we actually talk around, or the people we have around, are like not that great into software development because we are mostly around students, but whenever we are contributing in the space, you get to meet folks who have been in the industry for say 20 years, exact software development or how actually thing takes place in the ecosystem. Thirdly, now the fourth point is whenever you are working along with the people who have already been developing softwares, now you get a chance to understand and read the code which they have written. It's like it's not only you are reading the code which or writing the code which you think is correct, but whenever you are contributing to open source, people will be reviewing your code, and there will be someone who will actually you should implement, and that is something you should include in your journey. Moreover, I interned with Barclays in my summer. Therein, I was one of the few interns who was actually working in production because most of the folks who joined were not having a background in open source, so they were not exactly comfortable on understanding how exactly large code bases work. So they were given dummy projects and they were simply, learning the tools, building some of the demo projects. But I got the opportunity to work directly in the production code base because I had the experience of working there, and I knew how things work in production, how CI/CD pipeline works, and generally everything works. So whenever you have that, you get added advantage of working on things which you will be working maybe some year later. So you can begin your journey a bit earlier with open source. Now, the next question you might have is like, okay, so now I have a bit of understanding on how exactly open source is helping me grow, but can I get jobs and everything via open source? The answer is absolutely yes. Because whenever you're contributing to open source, your contributions, or I'm expecting you guys know what is Git and GitHub. So whatever commits you have is public. So whenever a recruiter opens your GitHub profile, and like the general hiring in foreign, or mostly say US and uh, Europe, recruitment works a bit different with respect to how Indian MNCs hire, because in those startups the tech recruiters check out your GitHub. They see the organizations you have contributed to, they see what all commit messages you have written. Now suppose there is a particular company ABC who wants to hire someone who has a background with Python development, say simply. They won't be just asking on LinkedIn, say, hey, like, we are hiring Python developers. Can you tell me your proficiency? No, they might not be doing that. They will be asking, can you share me the GitHub profile, and they will review that. So once you have experience in Python, the messages, comment messages, and whatever comments and contributions you have, that will be particularly public, uh, and everyone can see what all things you have written, and that's the way the technical recruiter can understand what is your skill set and how you can be of use to them, and they will directly reach out to you. Now, another thing is, how should you contribute? Because now you must be motivated enough, I guess, to work with open source. And if you have some questions, feel free to ask. I will be addressing them. So next, we can talk about how to contribute to open source. So Adisha, like, do we have some sort of questions which you want me to ask or answer?
We
If
don't
no,
have any
it's
queries now.
awesome. Okay, cool. So now the thing is how exactly you should start contributing. So, firstly, first, before we start contributing, there are a couple of things which you should keep in your mind. Firstly, you should select an organization. So, selecting an organization can be the most difficult challenge before or when you start your open source journey. Whenever you are selecting an organizations, there are majorly three things which you should keep in your mind. So, firstly, you should select the tech stacks in which you want to contribute. Secondly, whenever you are selecting a project that is suppose has a real good feature or a real good idea that you are aligned with. Now, suppose you are a classical dancer and you have the proper idea on what all things can be included in the particular visualization tool. So you can work as a domain engineer, wherein you can give ideas and you can help in the product building. And thirdly, the factor is how people are interacting or talking with you. So actually made a video on this and you can check those. I will be sharing those in the comments. And so you can check on how you can select an organization from there. Now post you've selected an organizations, there is a doubt like, okay, so now I know this is a particular organization I want to contribute. Now how I should move forward. So thing is key, whenever you are planning to move forward, firstly check on the particular issues which you want to work on. Now suppose the organization you've chosen and then you select the repository and you have no idea how exactly you should start contributing, because the issues which are present is something you don't have much clarity on, right? So you then create GitHub issues. Like suppose there is a something, open source alternative of say Netflix. So you might say, hey, this feature is missing, so maybe we can include this. So that's how you can mention that. And then if the issue is of not of high priority and that's something of low or medium priority, uh, people will let you fall in and then you can solve it along with the process of learning the tech stack required for that. And in case there is a issue which you think you can solve, but again you are confused, so maybe you will be just commenting down in the thread and asking for some sort of suggestions like, hey, can you just send me some resources from wherein I can learn and then I can contribute and relate it. Now when you have the resources and everything, you first understand the total code base, what the organization is doing, and then you start contributing in the process. Whenever you are contributing, make sure you understand how the CI/CD pipeline works. You read all the contributing guidelines, you read the code of conduct, and then you send the pull request. You just not, like, because there are certain organizations who want you to create a new branch, then commit the particular new things whichever you want to add in the particular branch, and then they want you to send the pull request. Some of the organization want you to rebase so whatever commit you have and everything. So you should learn the contributing guidelines before you contribute. So to be honest, whenever you are contributing, the first contribution to any organization, I guess is the most difficult part, because once you have started contributing, like you will be understanding what all things they are building, what all workflow they want you to follow, and everything. So getting your first PR merged will be the most difficult segment whenever you want to get things done. So, talking about that, even during my Google Summer of Code, like when I was applying, that is a particular procedure which I followed. Initially, I understood what IHR, like Internet Health Report, does. Majority of the folks who are applying for Google Summer of Code is only they are focusing on how exactly I can contribute in terms of code. But I guess that's not the only way you should think of, because there can be coders who have more experience and they might be a better coder than you simply. But what you can be like how you can differentiate from the crowd is by understanding what the organization exactly does and what they exactly want. So, talking about Google Summer of Code, so Google Summer of Code is a program that is organized by Google, and a lot of organizations take part, and Google select from which organization they want to list that particular year. Now, whenever they have listed a particular organization, they will the organization will post some sort of ideas wherein you can understand what all things they want you to solve, and accordingly you can choose an organization, then start contributing, and ultimately write a proposal. So I consider my to be like Google Summer of Code to be the ultimate Kickstarter for open source. A lot of folks already, they're pretty much confused. Like all their contributing organizations, but you don't get a one-on-one mentorship In Google Summer of Code, the best thing which I personally believe is you get to meet a mentor or maintainer who is in the industry for a very long time, and they will be guiding you through your journey for around say 3 months or 6 months, depending on if the project is a a short term or long term project. So like basically two types of projects are there. It is like 175 hours and 350 hours. I got selected for the 350 hours, so it extended for me around for 6 months. But if it is short time, you get to meet your mentor on say a regular basis or a weekly basis, and you can discuss your progress, what all you have difficulties in the process, and basically he or she will be guiding you through the total open source journey. And in the process, you not only learn to be a better developer, but you also understand how things are done in production. And again, as I said, like why you should contribute, because you get the essence of working in a corporate ecosystem or the MNC ecosystem whenever you're working as a Google Summer employee. If you are in India, so you get the essence of working in a corporate ecosystem or the MNC ecosystem whenever you're working as a Google Summer employees. If you are in India, so yeah, the money is also good. So, but money is never the concern when you're working in open source. One of the fixed startup which you might have in your open source journey. So, if there is something you want to
Sir,
add, like,
so the video is lagging a bit.
yeah,
I mean,
okay. Do you want me to switch it off?
no, sir, it's better now, I guess, yeah.
Okay. Is this better now? Can you
Yes,
hear me?
yes, sir, yes, it's better. So, a
Okay.
student,
So maybe we can have some questions. Yeah.
yeah, a student is asking that does a personal project will be counted under commits?
Yeah, absolutely. Like whatever you are building in public will be counted in as like the recruiter can also see like the project which you have built, the impact it has, and whatever ways you have written the code. That is also pretty much high value. So whenever you are building a project, or say whenever you are learning something, try to make a GitHub repository and try to push everything you're doing, because even the heat map which you have in your GitHub also says a lot of things about you. It says at least the consistency you have for software development, maybe one of the parameter which you can think of. So yeah. So
Yes, sir. So, next question that what are the future opportunities of open source? Someone is asking.
okay. So like currently post GitHub Universe, GitHub is actually promoting people to work as full-time open source engineers, because previously there was no such company who was promoting the open source culture that much. And because they generally people like companies have open source department in which they were paying the particular employees of the companies. But in general, someone who is not associated with a particular company, them getting money, some sort of money from someone was rare, I guess. GitHub was one of started its accelerator programs in which, suppose you have a personal project or you are working somewhere, so you can get money wherein you can work full time. So I would say that is the future in which people can work as a So anything more, Adesha, we have?
No, sir. All queries are resolved.
Okay, awesome then. We can move forward for the next thing. Okay, now diversifying remote jobs. So whenever we think of remote jobs and whatever we mean when we say remote jobs is a bit different. Uh, like remote job is what? Like basically working from your comfort, working from your home, or working from the place you want to. But the kind of remote jobs which I am saying is working with remote open source startups. So how are they different? Like the first thing first is like what makes them different from general work from home things. Because if you're planning of and thinking remote jobs to be some sort of, because if you are in some sort of freelancing network, you can find people giving you some sort of money whenever you are doing data entry for them, or whenever you're correcting some of the things for them, you are building something. So that can be considered as a remote job, and absolutely that is a remote job. But the kind of remote jobs which I would be talking around is working in the open source ecosystem, or working in remote jobs which are creating basically product based remote job companies, to be very simple. Now, firstly, what are remote jobs is pretty much clear. Now, the thing is how you should build yourself for the remote jobs. So, whenever you are planning, it's not different. Like, you should not just plan, ki, hey, I'm sitting today, I plan to work for remote job in a remote company. There is no such fixed roadmap. Do whatever you are doing, right? Like, if you are planning to go for any sort of company, uh, like maybe your dream company, say Uber, Google, or anything, I don't know. But if you're preparing for that, it's totally fine. You can the preparation strategy will be pretty much same. There is nothing different you need to do. But the only difference which you need to do in your journey is doing everything in public. Saying that, suppose you are learning a particular technology, right? So learning in public, maybe you can just go like the slide is there. Okay. So whenever you are, just learning in public, the thing is, suppose you are learning a particular new technology. Suppose you have started learning about blockchain technology, say. So there are particular things, suppose merkle trees. Like whenever you are learning about what is merkle trees, just write down a blog. Suppose you have started learning about DevOps. So whenever you understand the difference between microservice and monolith, write a blog. Now, even you are a beginner and you are say you are just starting out, you are learning basic features of JavaScript. Now you can just have your write a blog or make a small video. Like if you're comfortable writing, if you're comfortable making videos, do whatever you want to. Suppose say JavaScript under 3 minutes for beginners, anything. So any sort of blog you can write that, share in your Twitter handle, LinkedIn handle, whatever you want. The reason learning in public is important is because recruiters want to find you. Like maybe you are the best coder, maybe you are the most smartest person in the room, but if people don't know about you, how can even they reach out to you, right? Suppose you are locked in a room and you have all the skill set, you are the best magician in the world, but you are just engaged or caged in a particular room, so people won't be able to see your magic. So in that case, you need to come out to the world, you need to start performing your shows. So whenever you share things, just think yourself to be a magician, and in the way you are sharing, that's how it works. So do whatever you like. Be Whenever you're writing code, try to make as many comment messages as you can. Whenever you are learning something new, theoretical topic, try to jot it down in a sort of blog or a video and share in your network. That's how people will be knowing that you exist and what all skill set you have, and then they can reach out to you. So I have talked with a lot of folks who got remote jobs, and talking even about mine, it was mainly through blogging. So blogging is particularly a important thing which generally university students in India misses on. If you really want to go get there and get a lot of remote jobs, that is something you can get. And to be very honest, even if you plan to be a full-time technical writer, there is also a huge amount of money which you can earn. So giving you a brief example, suppose the general paid amount which people get, if you can just think for one blog, the normal people get around say 8,000 rupees. So that is quite a lot of money if you are just starting out in tech, and if you just publish one or two blogs. So that is how the conversion rate works, and you get the exposure, and your work is public. You learn a lot of things whenever you are writing out that. So that's how learning in public is important. So simple things, talking about remote jobs. Firstly, do whatever you were doing, whatever technologies you were interested in, learn that. And the extra thing which you need to do is just learn in public. If you combine those two things, you will be able to find all those things. Now, the third question, which is one of the most vital question, is like maybe I have done everything and no one is reaching out to me. What I should do? Simply, you reach out to them. So, where should I find those particular companies wherein I can apply? So, in one of my LinkedIn posts, I have given a list of websites I guess it was around 9 or 10 websites. So you can go there, check that out, and you can reach out to the recruiters or even apply from there directly. So I will be sharing the link for the particular LinkedIn post, and you can check that out. So Adesha, if you have any sort of question for remote jobs, maybe we can address them.
Yes, sir. A student is asking that can our GitHub profile help us to get more freelance projects?
Absolutely. Like whenever your projects are public, they will see. Like suppose you made a particular website, you share with. So what people can do? People can check out the features of the website, be it front end or back end features. But suppose there is a technical guy and he wants his work to be done, and he wants to see what all projects you have. So whenever you just link your projects, and it can only see from the, it can only be a, say, a black box view. You can only see from the outside how the thing looks and everything. But whenever he or she has access for the particular code base, they can also understand the way you are writing the code, and they can even check, because whenever you are building a project in for a, say, for a client, like it's a freelance project, the thing is the project, and suppose they are deploying somewhere, so it will be running on servers, and no one wants to pay a lot of money for servers. So writing efficient code and reducing the CPU utilization is something people look for whenever they're hiring freelancers. So your GitHub profile will also, and will 100% help you get remote opportunities and even freelance opportunities. So maintaining a good GitHub profile is particularly important. So anything more, Desha?
Yes, sir. So the people are asking that many remote jobs can be found on LinkedIn. What are other platforms for searching for these kind of opportunities?
Okay, so as I mentioned, there will be I will be sharing the link for the LinkedIn post, and apart from that, there there are some sort of I guess Twitter bots who retweet these things. So maybe you can check. So be active on LinkedIn and Twitter if you want to get along with these things like remote jobs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Vedant.
Okay, cool. So maybe we can move for hackathons now. So firstly, water hackathons, why should you take part in, how is something like similar to what open source was. So before I start talking about water hackathons, so I would tell you what the notion I had before I started taking part, and then I would share like how taking part in hackathons changed my life. So, firstly, when I was in my college, I started exploring tech from my second year of college. Like in my first year, I totally enjoyed. I did nothing. So, in my second year of my college, I started exploring how tech works and everything. So, the first notion which I had of hackathon is something, like it is only for people who are into cybersecurity and ethical hackers. So, it was a lot of time it took for me to understand that hackathon is not something that is very very like cybersecurity and very black and red hat thing. Anyone can just go and take part. Again, like the thing which obstructed me was, okay, so in hackathons we need to build projects, end-to-end application that can be used. But I'm just a beginner. I just barely learned HTML, CSS, and I don't even have an idea on how to deploy a website or how to make a website live. So I had no clue. So I was just stumbled, and I was like, maybe hackathons are not for me. Maybe I will take part down the lines of 1 year or 2 year later. But things started changing for me post my first hackathon. So, of course, I didn't win my first hackathon, but yes, I learned a lot. Firstly, hackathons are not for hackers. Anyone can take part in hackathons, and by the term hacking, what we mean is we mean uh, building out something. Just say, like, if you have ever seen the YouTube videos like 21 life hacks which you should know, and they show you how a spoon can be transformed into a, say, a hanger. So those are the things are known as hacks. So whenever we are saying the word hack in technical terms, we are saying to build things, hacking into systems and making our life, our ecosystem easier. So that are hackathons. So what hackathons is done, right? Like you take part in hackathons, you submit a project, and then either you win, but ultimately you learn a lot. So there is no losing in hackathons. Okay. Now the thing is, why should you take part in hackathons? Suppose whenever you are learning something new, and uh, you want to get a job or you want to get an internship, a lot of people must have said, यार projects बहुत important होते हैं, तो projects बना लेना. Now the thing is, what exactly and how exactly you should build, because whenever a lot of times you must, I'm pretty much sure if you are there, and I also did in my time. We start a project, but we never complete it because we don't have any sort of motivation. It's like, like maybe not today, we will complete it a week after. But whenever we are in a hackathon, we have the tendency like if we want to win. Like human tendency is like human tendency does not let us lose. We try our best to always win. So we have the thing right. We will be finishing the project and we will try to make the best project because we want to win. So when you have the energy and you have the motivation, so in hackathons you work a lot. So talking about my first hackathon, when I only knew HTML and CSS and I had no idea on how to deploy an end-to-end application, the first hackathon I built an AR VR application. I had no idea what AR VR is. The first time I was introduced to AR was with Snapchat filters. So that was something I had the knowledge. But post learning, I learned C Sharp. I learned Unity, and it was just 36 hours. It was my first hackathon. I was just in my second year, who had just the knowledge of HTML CSS. So learning those and building the thing, gave me the confidence. Like, hey, maybe I can also do it. So post that, the things changed for me. Now the thing is, why exactly you should do it? So the entire project building thing can be done over weekends. So if you think of your resume, so your resume, like I guess since most of the audience is from first and second year, will initially be having your education details about you, uh, the college you are in, and everything. So the major chunk of the portion which you can fill in your resumes is with projects. Post that, whenever you come to your maybe your third year or fourth year, you will be adding those internships and part-time jobs, the freelancing projects and everything. But initially it will only be your projects. So the projects can be built over just the weekends. So I would say, just like apart from just enjoying your weekends with going out with your friends or going for movies and related, how about if you take part in hackathons? So whenever you take part in hackathons, whatever you want, you can just build that over the period of a particular time. Like suppose you were building a project for say 30 minutes, uh, like sorry, 36 hours or 30 hours maybe, and those 36 hours will help you to get some of the white spaces removed and replace that with an amazing project which you have built. Now, another speciality of building hackathon projects is like the project will not be a very ghisabita type of project which is found on the web. We will be working on something that is a winning project, right? And you can't win on projects which is already present and which does not have any sort of innovations. So that is the reason you should take part in hackathons, because you will be building great projects, you will be meeting a lot of new folks, and even you can have the opportunity to win. Talking about that, like post my first hackathon, it was some time and I did not win hackathons, but after some point of time, I actually realized on how you should build projects. Post that, I got funding from IBM to work on a particular project idea which I had submitted for their hackathon. So that's how hackathon journey changed. And even in most of my interviews, I talk about projects, I discuss projects. And to be very honest, 100% of the projects which I have ever talked about are the projects which were built over the weekends in hackathons. So hackathons have been a real game changer for me, because in interviews, a lot of time we only talk about projects, and those were built over the weekends. Now the thing is how you should take part, or where to find hackathons and everything. So the thing is, there are a couple of places where you can find. Simply talking about, so firstly, Devfolio, DevPost, Unstop, and mm, okay, and okay. So these are some of the sites I will be listing them down. To be honest, I don't remember all of those, but one of the major organization which you think to be like the one of the largest stake who organize a lot of hackathons is MLH. So taking part in MLH hackathons will be really good if you are just starting out in tech. So any sort of hackathon can be just classified into two types. Firstly, student and hackathons. Secondly, hackathons which are run by companies. So whenever you are taking part in hackathons that is run by companies, you get the opportunity to get internships and jobs. But whenever it is student organized hackathons, you get a more friendlier environment wherein you are not much pressurized on like for example, you need to use this particular API from this particular company to build this thing. You are given much more freedom, and you can learn and build on whatever you want to. So whenever you are starting out, I would suggest start with student hackathons or take part in MLH hackathons. So will be the kind of hackathons which you can take part in your initial journey, and then you can proceed further. So now if you want to find corporate hackathons or that is organized by companies is generally you can find them on Hacker Earth or Unstop, which is formerly D2C. So those are the kind of platforms which wherein you can find the hackathons. So now we can move forward, Abhishek.
Yes, so we have a
Yeah.
question. Can beginners participate in hackathons?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, like when I started, I only knew HTML and CSS, and I learned over the weekend how AirVR works, and I built a simple game application with that. So as a beginner, whenever you're going for your first hackathon, uh, don't just think of winning the hackathon. You think you are going to understand how an hackathon exactly works. You understand how to pitch a project because what I believe in life, we are always selling ourselves, be it any segment of life. Okay, so you understand how to pitch a product, how you can sell your product, and whenever you are trying that, you can also understand how exactly the marketing side of the tech works. Because suppose you have built an awesome product, you want to start your startup, and you have no idea how exactly to pitch a product. To be honest, a lot of companies formed, a lot of startups which are in the marketplace currently were started from a hackathon project. So if you are someone who wants to start your own startup, you can also take part. So even as a beginner, and if you are someone is into tech, I would suggest you should take part. The experiences will be different, but the learning will be there, and I'm pretty much sure about that. No,
Yes, so we are done.
okay. Okay. So now ultimately it's growing as software developer. So see, first of all, I consider myself to be someone who is interested in software development. I still don't consider myself to be a software developer. Uh, Now, like whenever we are thinking of, how you can be a better software developer, think yourself to be more like a problem solver than to be a coder. There is a difference between programming and coding. So whenever you start understanding the things that you need to build something which can solve issues. So that's how you are thinking as a problem solver. Now, whenever you are thinking of a problem solving thing and you get an idea, you start with deciding on what all exact features. So basically, you as a software developer, and even if you're in a first or second year, let's keep it simple. Uh, Understand the fundamentals. Okay, whenever you are like there are two particular ways you can go as of now. You can either go for competitive programming or you can go for the development side. Either of the way you choose, I would say the first four things which you should do is to get your fundamentals very much clear. So, firstly, understand how computer fundamentals work. So, talking about that, learn about operating system, computer networks, database management, DSA. Post that, decide if you are interested in competitive programming or if you are interested in development. So, you always should have the problem solving ability. Now, when you have a problem solving ability and if you have decided that you want to build this product, don't just start, writing the code for it. Firstly, break down the particular product into multiple features and segments which you want to work on. Post that, basically, you decide on how do the low level system for it, and then we start writing the code. So, if you follow these particular steps, so that might be a segment wherein you will be a better software developer. So, that's how I guess it can be placed, maybe. So, I guess that's the end of my talk. And in case you have anything to ask about, like how to get internships or uh, how to get remote jobs, how to start with open source, maybe how to start blogging, how to earn money in college, and anything if you want to, feel free to ask me. I will be trying my best to answer most of them.
Yes, a student is asking that he's in his second year and like how he can apply for the internship.
Okay. So, firstly, I am guessing like he's from your college, and I guess even in my college, student don't actually, companies don't actually visit for second years. It will start it's like someone is for third years. So you need to go for off campus, right? So now how you can get an off campus internship? So firstly, you need to select the companies you want to work in. So firstly, if you think that you will be working with a MNC, so there might be a little less chance of you getting selected because MNCs generally look for experiences which you have, and all the a lot of parameters. Uh, so there is a little less chance that they are giving you the opening. So now what you do, you will selecting either you go for doing uh, joining, starting your own sort of company maybe, or to get the experience, or maybe the best thing out there is join a startup. Now, how to select a startup, right? So those are some of the things which is pretty much confused. Like people don't know very what kind of startup they should work in. Because initially when I started my tech journey, uh, it was like I was getting a monthly around 1,000 rupees, and I was like, okay, so this is maybe the best thing I can get. But it is not the way. So firstly, you can select startup in three particular ways. So firstly, if you just go over the page and you can just understand what they're building, and if you like the product which they are building, so maybe you can apply over there. The second thing is you find and you try to work for maybe unicorn startups. You just write to the hiring manager. And look, I will talk about cold billing a bit later. And then you can select startups which are YC backed. So YC Combinator backed startups are pretty much good. So if you want to work there. So now, suppose that you've selected a particular startup that you want to work with. Now you write to them, or you find maybe 30 or 50 employees, where you can directly approach the CEO or CTO that you want to work in. So if you are interested in a technical role, and if you're interested in a non-tech role, you may reach out to the CPO or the product manager, maybe, I'm not sure. So, and you reach out to them. And if the company is a bit large, say they have around 100 and above employees, you will be directly reaching out to the technical recruiter of that particular company. And in the particular cold mail, so whenever we are saying cold mailing, it is not just you write a Gmail. Any sort of way of reaching out to them is known as cold mailing. Suppose you are reaching out to them via email, reaching out to them via Twitter is also considered to be the same. Now, whenever you are reaching out to them, don't just say hi or hello. You just write, hey XYZ, and then write about yourself, and like in the para, like your experiences, why you think you can work over there. Then you just write why you want to join that particular firm, and post that you just write, ask like if there is any sort of vacancy in any of the team, or if they're hiring someone who they're looking forward to someone, then you can share your resume. And this is the process of your cold mailing. Don't just write, hey XYZ, I want to work, please give me the chance. So this is not exactly how it is. Actually should be. So that's how we can try.
Yes, sir. So next question we have, can you please share some platform names where we can start our blogging journey?
Okay. So there are majorly three platforms which people have been using, and maybe it can be now considered to be four. Firstly, it is Medium, then it is Hashnode, then it is Showcase, and then it is Dev.to. So personally, when I started with Medium, and then I shifted to Dev.to. The reason, because I was not getting a lot of content reach and comments from Medium, but when I shifted to Dev.to, the amount of reach which I was getting and the generic comments which was getting generated for me was a lot. So if you're planning to start with Dev.to. It is pretty much beginner friendly, and a lot of folks will be replying over there, and they will ask the questions, and it's a pretty much friendly environment. So start with Dev.to.
Yes, sir. So next question is, does DSA helps in development?
Absolutely. So DSA builds your problem solving ability. Now, suppose, okay, if you think of like if you want to be good at physics, you should be good at maths. So that's how it works. So if we want to think, like you can think development as physics, and DSA to be the maths for it. Like suppose whenever you are understanding how to store a particular data, where can you use it, how can you reduce the time complexities for it, like, so those are some things DSA will teach you, which you need to apply in development. Because in development, if you just think of because whenever I talk with uh, juniors especially, the first thing which they have in their mind is development is building the front end. So in front end, maybe you're not getting used, like whenever at least you're starting out. I'm not saying if you're using proper libraries and frameworks, but when you're starting out, you just think like front end is HTML and CSS, and you don't find a way on how you can use sort of DSA. But when you move a little bit further, and when you start exploring JavaScript and JavaScript based libraries and frameworks, you will start understanding how DSA can help. So understand and work on DSA. So initially, whenever if you want to go on a dev career, shifting particularly to development and not doing competitive programming, I will say at least learn up to binary trees. You may just have a bit idea on how dynamic programming and graphs work, and then you can just shift over there. Because if I can give you a simple example on how even CP can be used, right? I can give you that. So like what do I say? Suppose if you a lot of you must have used Ola and Uber. I'm pretty much sure. So in Ola, Uber, what is it like? There you are standing at some point in the place, and you need to find the nearest cab available. So that is a simple shortest path algorithm which you should be following, right? And the entire network will be a graph because there are multiple vertices and nodes. So DSA ultimately, like making it one liner is DSA is helpful in development.
Yes, sir. So, a student is asking what better he should learn in summer vacation so that he can gain maximum opportunities. Best course.
Okay. Okay, now it can be depending on the fees in first year or second year. So maybe for both of them, considering you as someone who is just starting out in tech, learn the fundamentals. This as I said, OS, DBMS, computer networks, and DSA. Post that, if you are someone who want to explore in tech, I would say there are two particular things which you should follow. Firstly, there is a channel named as Bio. So Bio has every concept within 100 seconds. So watch that. Like you can learn a lot of new things in just 100 seconds. Each topic in just 100 seconds. So you can watch that. And apart from that, there is a particular Chrome extension which I use, that is DailyDev. So in DailyDev, it shows you the top blogs, and so you can just start reading your blogs from there if you are looking forward to be updated with the tech thing.
Yes, sir. We are done with all the queries. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys, and you can reach me out on my socials. Like I will be trying my best to apply to each and every DMs which you have, and I hope you learn something out of this. And thanks a lot, Adesha, for hosting me. Thanks a lot, Rajat, for inviting me. Thanks a lot, DSC, BSSUT, for having me. Bye
Yes.
bye.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining and patient listening. With this, we would like to wrap up today's program. Thank you.